Hey, folks, I just wanted to say hello, welcome to the ABA's What's This Bird Live. You may notice that we're having a few technical issues. We're getting Katinka set up. Katinka is our new travel and events coordinator here at the ABA. We're excited to have her, and you know, we're always trying to do kind of throw some new faces at you guys so you kind of know what we all do and what we're trying to accomplish here at the American Birding Association. And we're still getting that process. She's getting set up currently as we speak, and we'll be with you very shortly. But I just wanted to pop on and say hello and let you know that this is happening soon, and I appreciate your patience. I'm gonna throw back up the ABA, the holding screen. If you're curious, that is a what is it? It's a red-billed tropic bird. That's our logo bird. It was actually a bird of the year a couple years ago, and we do have some bird of the year news to announce here on this episode, and we're going to be excited to do that. Sorry, I'm probably a little bit quiet. Let me turn my mic up a little bit. Yeah, so we'll be there shortly. I'm going to pop back onto the holdings very shortly. Thank you for hanging in there. Hey again. I'm not exactly sure how long this is going to take, so I'm going to vamp some more. If you all have any questions in the comments, please shoot them. It's sort of an AMA, and ask me anything. I will answer all your questions about birds and birding, everything that you were desperately wanted to know about. I don't know, about the podcast, about the ABA, about me. I am So Stephen Williams asks, what are your guesses as to this year's bird of the year? I can't tell you that. Unfortunately, that isn't a question I cannot answer. But I am excited to say that we have announced our artist, Christina Ball, who some of you might know. She is a regular at bird festivals all over the ABA area, and a really great person and a really great artist, and has a really distinctive style. We're really excited to have her as the artist, especially in a year where we are all sort of slowly easing back into the real world from the pandemic world. She is sort of a perfect choice for that because she is pretty much everywhere. If you are going to the Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival next week in South Texas, Christina will be there. She was at the Cape May Fall Festival last month. She'll probably be at she'll probably be at Space Coast coming up in December or in January. All the places where the ABA is at. We're excited to have Christina Ball helping us out with that. I'm vamping. I'm still gonna vamp. I suppose I could just start talking randomly about the birds that I have picked up. You'll have to see my kind of crude scenes that I use for OBS for this that have Katinka's name on them with no little box with her face and her voice on it. But I will. I can do that. We can do that if it comes to that. I will. We'll go and do it. Colin Conroy asked maybe we should have a text discussion about tropic bird identification. I wish I could tell you more about tropic bird identification. Red-billed tropic bird, ironically, given that I work for the ABA, is a bit of a bogey bird for me. Personally, though, I have seen white-tailed tropic bird, the more common Atlantic coast tropic bird, on a few occasions on pelagic trips out of Hatteras, North Carolina. Stephen Williams suggests, is it possible to move the ABA lifeless pins faster? Boy, I wish there was. We're dealing with the same sort of supply chain issues that a lot of people are dealing with these days, supply chain and U.S. Postal Service issues. But I'll make a note of that, Stephen, and I will send a little message over to Kelly Smith in the ABA office, who does financials and all that stuff for the ABA and handles all the mailing and stuff like that. So I'll see if she can, if she knows what the issue is on that. Stephen Williams says, and then a Cardinal fan. Oh, hold on, Katinka's here. I'm gonna go back to the holding screen, and then I'm gonna bring her in, and then we'll start talking. Thanks everybody for dealing with my vamping. I appreciate it. Bye. See you in a bit. Hey everybody, we're back, and I have a guest this time. I want to welcome Katinka Domen, who's the AVA's new AVA travel and events coordinator. Katinka, how are you this afternoon?
Hi. I'm well, thank you. Sorry for being a little bit late. I'm trying to get the audio and everything functioning here, but yeah,
that's
good.
All right. We'll give you this time as your first time. Oops. Oh, sorry. Go ahead and talk. I had your mic off. Sorry, it's all a mess. Go ahead and say that again.
That's it for getting the audio to function, right?
Yes, that's always a step.
No, I'm all good. Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Okay. Yeah, so Katinka is here. So we're here to talk birds, but before we get going on that, Katinka, I do want to talk a little bit about the big ABA event that is coming up in Philadelphia next month. I kind of mentioned a little bit Bird of the Year, the big Bird of the Year announcement. It's something that we've had a lot of fun with here at the ABA for the last few years, and we're excited to have fun with it again. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on next month?
Sure. Yeah, so as everyone already knows, like every year the ABA selects its Bird of the Year. And that's been a super successful program already for over 10 years. And people really look forward to that reveal and all of that. So this year we figured like we're gonna celebrate that like with an actual big party. So on the 19th of December, we're going to have our big Bird of the Year reveal party in Philadelphia. That's a Sunday, and it will be at Triple Bottom Brewing in Philadelphia. And yeah, we're going to have music. We're going to have drinks. We're going to have appetizers. We're going to have people talking about all sorts of things, like about the ABA, all the good stuff that we're doing, our young birder programs, and obviously like we will reveal the Bird of the Year. Big mystery still. Yeah. So yeah, can't really say much about that.
They were trying to guess it in the comments.
Exactly. No people definitely are prying already. So yeah.
I just say that we have Christina Ball. Christina Ball is our artist, and we're very excited about that.
We can totally announce that. It's super exciting. Christina's amazing, and her art is just so wonderful and colorful and bright. I love it. So she'll be there. So if people want to come, like there will be an opportunity, obviously, to talk to her, to see the original art. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool event. So anyone like ticket sales are open right now at the ABA website. So just come join us there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can go to aba.org/bird of the year and get those advance tickets. I think they're $20 before 25 day of the event. It's going to be a lot of fun. Katinka's going to be there. I'm going to be there. There's going to be a lot of ABA friends and family. Philadelphia is a real hotspot for birding and a real hotspot for the American Birding Association. We're just really excited to celebrate together, which is something we have not been able to do for a while. So it's going to be fun.
It's going to be so good.
Yeah. Lynn Kafka asks, what is the criteria for Bird of the Year? That is an interesting question. In some sense, it is a little random. And in some sense, we do try to come up with a bird that sort of captures the, I don't know, the zeitgeist, the feeling, the vibe of a given year of something that is special going on at the ABA. A bird that people have probably seen, a lot of people have probably seen, and can enjoy it together. And just a bird that's a lot of fun. I know those are not very good characteristics. Do you have anything to add, Katinka?
I think the main thing that we want to achieve with Bird of the Year is create like a kind of connection between people, between us and birds and nature. So I feel like what we're trying to do is choose a bird that sort of appeals to a lot of people, like whether they're in birding already for years or just getting started or haven't even started at all yet. So maybe a species that can be like a good spark bird, but also one that people don't get tired of, like after seeing it like for the gazillion time already. So yeah, I feel like that's definitely an important criterion. And also, I mean, it's good if like the Bird of the Year can also help us talk about nature conservation, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I feel like those are probably sort of the criteria.
I feel like this one does that. I think we did a pretty good job with this one that's coming up. So that also means, I'm sorry, Colin Conroy, that it is it is not house sparrow. Not that there's anything particularly wrong with house sparrows. House sparrows are fine. They're fine. A bit more of a regular bird where you come from, Katinka, than many of us.
Also true. Yeah.
Who decides members vote or editors pick? It's pretty much an internal discussion that we have here in the ABA. we try to be a benign dictator when it comes to the bird of the year. We impose our bird of the year on you. But this is a fun one. This is a good one. We're excited about it. Katinka, do you want to talk about some bird identification?
Sure.
Talk about some birds. I know we sort of, yeah,
best.
yeah. Let's remember some birds. Yeah. So if people are unfamiliar with what we do here with our live What's This Bird shows, we do grab the ABA hosts a Facebook group called What's This Bird. It's essentially a crowdsourced bird identification group. People can post a photo of a bird that they've seen in their yard or when they're out birding or anywhere, and our friendly members and administrators will help you identify that bird. What it means is that we tend to get a lot of similar sorts of birds, especially at certain times of year. And this time of year has been one with lots of lingering warblers and sparrows. And so we're going to talk a little bit about those today because I've chosen a few. So what I've done is I've grabbed a few photos that have been posted in the last couple days or so. And we're just going to talk about them, talk about how we identify them, what we're looking at, remember some great times with the birds. But, whatever you want to do. It's sort of a free-flowing conversation. And typically, it's either Greg or Ted or me or some combination of those two. But we're excited to have Katinka here to join us because it's always nice to have new faces to talk birds with at the ABA. Okay, with that vamping put away, let's throw some birds in here. I got this one, Katinka. This one was photographed in Missouri. You got any thoughts on this guy? It's showing a real nice field mark here that ought to make things a little bit easier.
Yeah, I would say so. I think like that nice yellow butt definitely helps. So yeah. How do I just go like?
Yeah,
sorry,
what are you looking at?
First time here, like
things that I'm
mostly looking at obviously like that yellow color there. Very hard thing to miss. Although I mean, this is obviously a really good obvious picture. So that definitely helps. Yeah, that's probably like your giveaway cue.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that there are a few other kind of yellowy, rumpy warblers, although this one is sort of the yellow-rumped warbler. This is the classic.
A butterbutt.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
or at least that's what I've told people call them.
You have. And in Missouri, one of the interesting things about it is that you might have like two possible subspecies of yellow-rumped warbler, although yellow-rumped warbler comes in two varieties. There's a western one called Audubon's warbler, and of course the eastern bird called myrtle warbler. And one of the things that I thought was sort of interesting about this one in particular is that it's sort of difficult to tell exactly which one it is based on sort of the angle and the quality of the photo. But I would feel pretty confident calling this one a myrtle warbler. The chin is where you sort of want to look. The Audubon's warbler has sort of a yellowish and or occasionally beige chin, a very plain face. This one does seem to have those eye arcs, those white eye arcs that are pretty obvious even at this angle. I would suggest that even though this one looks kind of weirdly and browny, nondescript, there's enough there that I feel pretty comfortable calling this one a myrtle warbler. But one thing that is sort of fun is that I think some people might be justified in thinking that this thing might be a palm warbler because there's a lot of palm warblers hanging around. It is one of the more common late warblers. But one of the things you want to look for in a palm warbler is the undertail. You can see this guy has a white undertail, whereas palm would be bright yellow. What do you think about yellow-rumped warblers, Katinka? Is it a sign of fall for where you are? There's a lot of them moving through right now.
Right. I mean, sign of fall for where I am. I haven't actually been here for that long.
That's true. That's true.
No, it's mostly just like a sign of migration being at its peak.
There you go.
In Honduras,
right.
where I used to live. So yeah, I mostly remember them from where I was in Honduras, in Western Honduras, near Gracias Lempira, where they just come in big numbers in migration. We'd be walking through pine forest. That's actually where I usually saw them. Pine savanna forest. Yeah. So for me, it's definitely a migration bird. But then I've been here for a few weeks now, and I've been seeing them literally everywhere. They've been super, super present here, either in Philadelphia, in Michigan, everywhere. So yeah, I think like you're actually probably way more familiar
We get a
with
lot
them
of them.
than I
Yeah,
am.
especially on
I
the
don't think I've ever seen that many before ever in my life.
yeah,
So
on the Outer Banks of North Carolina on the coast, and I don't think this is a North Carolina thing. I think it's sort of an Atlantic coast. This time of year, you'll get like almost clouds of yellow rump warblers kind of
right.
moving down the coast, hitting the myrtles, hitting the wax myrtle trees. So you know the name myrtle
Mhm.
warbler is pretty it's a very good name for that subspecies. They really like those wax
Right.
myrtles. Yeah, we see a lot of them. Um, but here inland where I live, they're around, but certainly not the most common of uh, of the of the birds. Len Kopka
Okay.
noticed the lack of visible wing bars in this photo is why some might think palm warbler. Absolutely, yeah. I think
Mhm.
that this angle and the sunlight and sort of the soft quality of the image does sort of give the impression. Thank you, Len, uh, for bringing that up because my my gut impulse when I saw this photo was like maybe palm warbler. Like when I'm scrolling through what's this bird trying to find stuff, but then we need to pause and look at it a little bit longer. It's pretty clear that it's a yellow rump. Rob Fanning notes that 2 Audubons have been reported in New Jersey this fall. Yeah, eastern birders got to watch out for those. I think myrtle is pretty common in the west though, in the winter. All right, shall we move to the next one?
Sure.
Move on. Um, let's go to the west. Let's go to California. Um, what do you think about these little birds, Katinka?
Okay. So here,
I think these are
sparrows.
trying to trick you. Yeah.
They'll definitely trick me. Oh my God, you have so many sparrows. um, so I really try hard to identify sparrows and like pay attention to whether or not they are like really heavily streaked. I try to pay attention to the tails,
Yeah,
and
it's
to
not a
the
lot to go on these
patterns
birds,
in the
unfortunately, on that
face.
department.
Yeah, like tail can't really tell from there. They are sort of really boldly streaked though.
I know.
Um,
It threw me.
but
As an eastern birder, I'm not used to seeing
okay.
this species so heavily streaked.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
I realize it's
and
sort
then
of unfair to throw a birder who has grown up in Europe and in
yeah,
Honduras.
and has been here like literally
I,
two
I,
months.
I know, right here. This is a crash course, a public crash course on identifying some of the more difficult birds in North
Yeah, yeah.
America.
Thanks for that. Amazing, really. I feel very welcome.
Yeah,
It does make me
this is
realize, like in
hazing.
January, I need to take like this sparrow identification tour. That we're organizing. So anyone who's with me on this, like sparrows are hard, like that's the one to go and I'll
Yeah,
be
and
there.
this in particular is a species that is really, really variable across the whole scope of North America.
Mhm.
I remember the first time I went to California and I saw these birds, and these are I should say savanna sparrows. I was thrown by how dark they are. Like those Southern California savanna sparrows are really dark and streaky and look very much like I see my song sparrows, right? So my song
Right.
sparrows are sort of dark and streaky. And you can't, you know, some of the structural differences that you might see on those two species, for instance, you know, song sparrows are very long tail, Spanish sparrows are
Exactly.
short tail. They shape differently, are really difficult to discern in
Right.
this photo.
Yeah, exactly. Like definitely like with the bold streaking, I would go song sparrow, but then I don't really see any long tails in it. But
Exactly.
on the other hand, I also don't see any yellow on the lures. So it's sort
Exactly.
of like what? I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I think Savannah Sparrow was the consensus on the page here, and now I'm second guessing myself. My sense is that some of those those really far western ones don't always have that little yellow dot between the eye and the bill that the one that we birders in the east are sort of more familiar with. And certainly depending on where these birds were taken, you know, Southern California has its own special subspecies of Savannah sparrow called Belding sparrow that is like really dark and really streaky. It can be tough. It can be tough, but the location is a good clue here. You know, for this bird. Another one that when I was scrolling through, I thought one thing, and then when I stopped and looked at it, I saw another.
Right.
Yeah, Tim Kalbaugh notes it's a hybrid. People are saying hybrid. Yes, Savannah time by Savannah hybrid. Maybe it's subspecies hybrid. Savannah is one of those cool species. Here's a cool fact about Savannah sparrows. Or maybe it's not really a fact. It's more of my opinion about Savannah sparrows is that they have like a ton of subspecies. Like they're one of the most, among the most named subspecies of any species of bird in North America. And I don't know that a lot of those are valid. A lot of those were named in like the late 18th century when everyone was out there trying to shoot birds and name a subspecies after themselves, come up with something. But if you look at it, there's sort of a range across the scope of the North America that makes them look a little bit, you know, it's cline. That's clinal. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. I should have given you some easier ones, Katinka. I'm real sorry about that.
Well, crash course, right?
Consider this.
Gotta learn
Consider
someday.
this. Consider this your new staff hazing.
Like the initiation, right? Yeah, got it.
Here's another one. We're gonna go to we got a new one. Here's one from Illinois. A large raptor here with what looks like an unfortunate squirrel's tail dangling from its talons. Yeah. So, you know, we know this is a bird of prey. It's got that kind of short, curved bill. It's got large talons with large claws. How would we how do we break it down from there? Do we know it's an eagle? Do we know it's a buteo? Do we know it's a scipitar? What stands out to you, Katinka?
Well, standing out to me was I was mostly looking at like the trailing edges and the petioles on this bird. And then the markings under the chin. So
yeah, petioles. That's a common. I never get this right. That's a pretty common field mark for one certain kind of raptor in North America. And what we talk about when we're talking about petioles, that's like the forward of the shoulder, right? That's like the leading edge of the wing closest to the body.
Yeah.
I always forget exactly what that is, but they call it petagial bars. And even though this bird lacks some of the field marks that we associate with the species, those petagial bars definitely stand out. You want to put a name to this one? What would you call this?
I'm gonna go with a red tail.
Yeah, red-tailed hawk.
Red-tailed hawk.
Correct. Yeah. So red-tailed hawk are one of our largest buteos, however you want to pronounce it. Large, broad wings, relatively short tail. If this were an accipiter like a Cooper's hawk or a sharp-shinned or a goshawk, that tail would be much longer. One of the field marks we like to look at for red tail is the belly band. Everyone likes to point out the belly band, but this is one of those birds that has almost no belly band at all.
Yeah, they don't all have that. But the trailing edges and the petioles definitely are.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how even when the belly band is not visible, like those other field marks are the ones that you point out, the petagial, the trailing edge are the ones that stand out more. You can see a little bit of speckling underneath the wing where the belly band would be.
Yeah.
The middle of the continent is a really great place to see the variation among red-tailed hawks. It's a really variable bird. I'm always jealous of birders in the west of the Mississippi because they get to see so many cool red-tailed hawks, whereas we in the east only get the one variety for the most part.
Also no dark.
Yeah, very rare. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever seen a dark red-tailed hawk in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Only the light ones. Though when I go home to Missouri, where I grew up in the middle of the country, they have dark ones every once in a while. Harlans, which is really cool, wintering bird. Red-tailed hawks are super cool.
Yeah,
a great way to kind of learn about raptor identification because they are so variable. I'll pause here and I'll point out that Colin Conroy notes that he hopes Katinka has some difficult Philoscopus warblers to test me on. Yeah, you should. You should have thrown some out.
We'll do an episode on that one day.
Yeah, we'll get to see me grasping at straws and not knowing what to do. Yeah, you got to hear those, right? I don't even know. I don't even want to mess with them. Yeah, I will say if anyone has any comments, questions, please let us know in the comments. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. We're happy to take those. It doesn't have to be about bird identification. It can just be about our thoughts on birding, and anything like winter birding tips. I don't know. I'm just giving you some ideas. We're happy to answer questions about just about anything having to do with birds. I got a couple more for you. For y'all, for everybody. It makes it feel like I'm quizzing Katinka. I'm not. We're talking about bird identification here. Here's one from New Jersey. These last 3 images I have are all sort of late season warblers. The peak of warbler migration was definitely about a month ago, maybe 5-6 weeks ago. But there's a lot of kind of lingering warblers, late migrants that are coming through, and now's a great time to kind of get familiar with those. This is one from New Jersey. I'm going to move this in a little bit so we can see it. Yeah, so when I'm thinking about late migrant warblers, a lot of them are sort of very plain looking. A lot of the real colorful ones have moved on. And so if you are birding in any sort of weedy, rush-filled area, this is one that you're probably going to encounter pretty much anywhere in North America at this point. I know they're starting to come through where I live here in the Southeast right now. Anything you want to point out about this bird, Katinka?
Well, I was trying to get like a slightly closer look at colors on the test and try to like determine whether or not that's a full eye ring or a broken eye ring.
Yes, that was actually one of the conversations in the comment thread that followed this bird. There were 2 species that were being thrown around, Nashville warbler and orange-crowned warbler, both of which are fairly late migrants, though orange-crowned is sort of the classic late warbler migrant. I'm sort of dropping a lot of hints as to what I believe that this bird is. But yeah, I mean, you both find them in similar sorts of places. I think of both Nashville and orange-crowned warblers as being sort of brushy, shrubby warblers, especially in the fall, as opposed to treetop warblers like Blackburnian and black-throated green, although black-throated green does a lot of shrubby stuff too.
Yeah. So, yeah, I sort of decided it was a broken eye ring. So in which case I'd go with orange ground.
And I would agree with you on that one. Yeah, the broken eye ring. Yeah, I mean it's hard to tell, obviously, given the quality of the image. But I do think that eye ring is more broken than complete. And just sort of that all over kind of green. Green up into the head, green on the back, green on the sides. It's not something I really see in Nashville. Nashville really is a more lemony yellow on the breast and on the undertail, whereas sort of that green all throughout the underparts is very much an orange crown thing to me.
Right.
And yeah, they are shaped very similar though. That is kind of an interesting point.
Yep.
Did you? Blurry streaks on the side. John points out. Yeah. Stephen Williams notes ruby crown kinglet. Yeah, ruby crown kinglet is sort of superficially similar, and given that the quality of this photo, I think that you'd be justified in thinking that. This is where we talk about how identifying birds from photos is a lot more difficult than identifying birds in life, because if you were looking at this bird in real life, if it was a ruby crown kinglet, you would be able to see it flicking its wings and tail like ruby crown kinglets do, and you probably get a better impression of the shape and maybe even the size if you're looking at it in life as opposed to a still photo. Birds are hard on still photos. It's difficult. Colin Conroy says there is a discussion about named subspecies of orange-crowned warbler. After someone said gray-headed orange-crowned warbler, how much do they vary across the continent? That's a really good question. Orange-crowned warbler comes in 2 or 3 subspecies, if I recall correctly. I don't have my bird book on me. But the ones that we have in it, Tim, I'll mention that, Tim. So the ones that we have in the east that you would be likely to see in New Jersey are very gray-headed, as opposed to the ones in the west, which I don't have a ton of birding experience in the west, but those orange crowns just are super vibrant green to me, as opposed to the more grayer ones in the east. I think it's Salata is the subspecies. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. One's eastern, one's western.
Mm.
Tim notes that the proportions are not compact enough for a kinglet. Yes, good point. I think in this photo, that's pretty clear. Kinglet has a big head, tiny body, very round, very cute, very plush. Though, in the single shot, it could be stretching out and kind of give it a weird impression. Yes, orange-crowned warbler. Do be on the lookout for those, folks. That is one that is coming through. Shall we go to the next one?
Go for it.
This is a slightly better photo of another warbler, but kind of superficially similar to orange-crowned warbler, but different in some important ways.
Yeah, I think to start with the face, that lack of that eye ring, but the yellow over the eye, like the stripe. Also just the pale belly, pale vent, make it obviously different from the orange crown that we saw earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. All those things are true. Yeah, what's funny is that both of these birds are frequently seen in similar sorts of places. I was actually birding last week at a kind of farmy area looking for a Say's Phoebe in my home county, and I saw one of these, a Tennessee warbler, working these goldenrod type flowers. They really do a lot of that in the fall, which is interesting because in the spring, I think of them as very much a treetop warbler, like way high up.
Right.
So this is obviously a common chiffchaff. That one's for you, Colin, and Katinka. Now, Tennessee warbler, which is the most whatever, however you pronounce that, of our of our North American wood warblers. It does look a lot like that kind of generic European warbler, though.
Yep, it does.
All right, we got one more. If anyone has any other sort of questions, please let us know in the comments. We're happy to talk about it. Before we move to that bird, I do want to point out that this is just one of the many free resources that the American Birding Association provides. If you're interested in supporting those resources, please consider joining the ABA. The address is directly above me, aba.org/join. We have lots of different memberships at lots of different levels, and we'd be excited to have you part of the ABA. Not only do you get to help support programs like this and the groups that we have and the birding resources we provide, American Birding Podcast, things of that nature. You do get our magazines, and you get discounts to a few of our partners like Beauty Books, and you get to go to our travel and events. We have a very big travel and events coordinator. You get to go with Katinka and other members of the ABA staff, family. I don't know, more staff than family. I know it's weird when people say, "Oh, we're family." I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent. You can help out and you can join us on a few of these events. We have a full slate in the post-pandemic world. Before we move on, Katinka, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the fun things that the ABA has beyond this party that we're doing on December 19th?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to have a lot of different tours coming up over the next year and for many years to follow, obviously. And we'll be doing some international tours. We'll also have a series of US and Canada-based trips coming up. So as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a Sparrows tour to Southeast Arizona in January. So that's going to be the first post-pandemic trip coming up. So that's the first one. Winter sparrows in Southeast Arizona,
A lot of
January.
options there. You see those crazy Savannah sparrows for yourself.
Right. And it's interesting because it's really focused on identification. So it's a tour. We'll have lots of fun. We'll do lots of field trips, but we'll also really pay attention to field identification and workshops. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And then we'll take it to the other side of the world. And we have a trip coming up to Kenya in February. Another international trip to Mexico, Oaxaca in April. And then we will do the adult birder camp, which has been a massive success. So we decided that we just keep doing that.
I'll be at that one.
That would be woohoo! Yeah, I'm definitely going to be at that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that's going to be in West Virginia in June. So that's sort of the first half of 2022. And other than that, we also want to start offering a different type of activity. Basically, there'll be field trips. So every 2 months, we'll choose a state, a region, and we'll bring the ABA over there, and people can join on a weekend full of field trips and workshops. And we might do a big day, or we might include a field sketching workshop or photography workshop. Really try to showcase everything that birding can possibly be, and it will be very low cost, and we'll bring it to you. So you basically just have to show up in the morning for the first field trip. So we'll start posting those on the website as soon as we got them sort of wrapped up for the first half of the year too.
Very excited. We're going to do a lot of opportunities for birders out there to interact with the American Birding Association and enjoy some birding and enjoy I don't know, hanging out and talking about birds. That's what we all like to do anyway.
We do.
It's the best thing anyway. All right, so we got one more bird coming up. This is another of those late season warblers, of which you will probably see quite a few this year.
Mm-hmm.
This one's a little bit different. It's got some wing bars on it.
Yeah, that always makes it interesting. That's definitely the first thing that stands out to me, a warbler with wing bars.
Yeah, it'll narrow it down.
Yep. It does narrow it down. Wing bars, and it does have an eye ring. I do think that this one's sort of generally rather variable, though. This seems to be
very much is.
Very pale individual.
This is. Yep. I like where you're going. I see where you're going with this.
You really are now going to blurt out something like, "Oh, it's a blue brown motmot." Anyhow, no. So I would guess this is a pine warbler.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. There are three warblers that tend to give birders a lot of trouble. That's pine warbler, blackpoll warbler, and bay-breasted warbler. For my money, those are the three most difficult. The birds that, when we talk about confusing fall warblers, those are the ones that actually are frequently very confusing.
Right.
But they all sort of have this sort of rough pattern. They all have wing bars. They all have eye ring to varying degree. But I think the biggest clue for this bird, I think, is the fact that it's in Massachusetts in November, and blackpolls and bay-breasteds are going to be on their way to northern South America if they aren't already there by now. Right. And pine warbler is an facultative migrant, as Greg Neese likes to say, which means that they only move if they have to, for the most part. And if it's warm enough in Massachusetts to kind of hang in there, then they will probably hang in there. And pine warblers, I love them because I see a ton of them in the Southeast, and they are really variable. And this looks like one of those kind of first-year female type birds that practically have no color on them whatsoever.
Actually.
Yeah, and they run the gamut to males that are just like, they look like they're glowing. They're so bright yellow, prothonotary warbler-esque kind of yellow.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah, John says it wouldn't be fall without Nate putting a pine warbler photo here. Yeah, I was looking at my Facebook history, whatever, and I noticed that I had several years ago I'd posted a bunch of different fall pine warblers that I had found at a local birding spot, and I just kind of sat there and photographed every possible plumage that I could find among this flock of pine warblers, and there were a lot. There were a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Yep, pine warbler, your classic overwintering warbler there, along with yellow rumped.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all I got, Katinka. I'd just like to say, for a group of sort of difficult birds that from a part of the world which you are not, you did not grow up in, you did a really nice job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're pleased to welcome you officially to the ABA. The ABA staff. You passed all our tests.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for being kind.
If anyone has any questions or comments or anything, you can leave them in the comments, and we'll be happy to tackle those questions about birds, birding. Oh, Stephen Williams. Man, Stephen, you're on a roll. You got a lot of questions. We're happy to take them. He knows he's about to head to Missouri next week. What would be the ideal birds to find right now? Well, Stephen, you're in luck. I grew up in Missouri and cut my teeth birding in Missouri. My folks still live there, and I go back there every couple of years in non-pandemic years, frequently for the holidays. And I know birding, especially in the southwest part of Missouri around Springfield, pretty well. A lot of it depends on where you're going to be. I know there's a little bit of a lag. If you could throw that in the comments. I'll talk a little bit about birds you can find in southwest Missouri. West of Springfield, if you go out to Dade County, there's a little place called Pennsylvania Prairie. It's a really good place. Oh, Rolla. Okay. Yeah, it's not too far away. It's a great place for Smith's longspur. There's usually a decent flock of wintering Smith's longspurs there. Prairie falcon is a good possibility down in that part of the world. Cool wintering. One of my favorite wintering birds in Missouri when I go back is Harris's sparrow. It's really cool, big, bulky Zonotrichia, sort of like a white-throated sparrow, but bigger, and it's the largest sparrow in North America. A lot of those around there. I don't know Rolla too well, although I did used to drive through it when we used to go to St. Louis. But if you get down into the Ozarks, if you get west, those plains west of Springfield over towards Kansas City, if you have some opportunity, are great. Shell osage. Shell osage is in, it's north of Springfield, between Springfield and Kansas City, sort of, if you think of a triangle, it's not too far from Rolla. Maybe a good winter birding there. A lot of wintering waterfowl, cackling geese, good quality, good variety of wintering birds. I hope that helps. That's sort of what I look forward to when I go to Missouri in the winter. If you get a chance to get to those prairies out west of Springfield, though, those are it's a really cool part of the world. Cool western birds out there. Yeah, if anyone has any other questions, we're happy to. I unfortunately, I don't know if there's any other part of the continent that I would be able to be as specific about if you're traveling somewhere. But let us have it. I'm trying to keep track of where we have. Otherwise, we've been at this about an hour. Katinka, I think.
Sorry, did I keep you all too long?
No. This was great. People love it. We love having more variety of ABA staff and friends on here to talk. Before we go, no cardinals in San Diego. That's exactly right. Not wild ones, that's for sure. Before we go, I just want to give a big thanks to our team of moderators and administrators in the What's This Bird group who keep that group humming. We Greg and I sort of ride herd over the group a little bit when we can, but I think that it is the admins and moderators who are in there who are doing sort of the yeoman's work, keeping that group functional and informative for everyone that uses it. And I just want to give a big thank you to those people who are out there doing that. It really means a lot that you care enough about the ABA and the group to volunteer your time in that way. Otherwise, I will say goodbye to you, Katinka, and to everybody watching. Thank you for a great afternoon, and we'll be back in a couple weeks.
Cool. Adios.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.